Hey everybody, company here. Welcome to today's live stream. Today is April the 13th, 2024. Glad to have you all here today. Hope your month of April is good and your day has been excellent so far. And for today's live stream, we're going to be talking about the topic about some of the friends that I've had in the past. So we're going to be talking about a few of the real life friends, maybe some online friends as well. But yeah, just kind of cover the general topic because a lot of people have been asking for me to discuss this topic due to uh, the voting results from the last community post where we were asking, the community or the subscribers from the ThyCompany channel, what they would like to have for us to cover on the live streams. And the most popular answer choice was for us to talk about friends. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So we're going to talk about, different friends that I've had and just, pretty much the general topic about, what I like about them, some of the cool things they have, or maybe some personality traits of theirs, or maybe, kind of like what's new versus, from before. So, yeah. So I have a few different friends in mind here. So the first friend I'll talk about is a friend named Sean. Now, my original plan for this is I was going to be kind of dividing this up into different like episodes talking about different specific friends, but I figured for today's live stream we'll just talk about some general mix of everything, and if needed we may be able to go back and like maybe make different episodes depending on how things go, I guess. And then I know with the general topic of friends, for some reason they haven't really been getting a lot of good views when I make like friend topics or friend videos rather. um, so I guess we'll see again what's happening or what's going on, and we'll kind of scale from there. And we're still also waiting for the computer to come in too, which we're thinking it's going to be April the 16th. Again, we don't know for sure yet. And then plus with all the weird like hiccups of eBay as well, um, it's hard to tell exactly. So therefore, we'll be talking to you about some of the friends. So first friend I mentioned was Sean. Um, let's see. So he and I we worked at the movie theater. Back when I was at the movie theater, Sean worked at a lot longer than I have, and I worked at this movie theater from 2014 through 2017. Sean's been there for like a good 10 to 15 years though. So so he definitely has a better probably better stories about the movie theater than I do. But um yeah, he and I worked at that movie theater, and then we also worked at a fast food restaurant called Arby's. Um, you may or may not know of the restaurant. It's a popular nationwide restaurant here in the U.S., but it's like not among the major ones. Like it's not it's not a McDonald's, right? Um, but they have their own different ideas behind it too. But um, so we worked at the movie theater at that point, and I think regarding Arby's, I think I was there in 2018 or 2019. It's kind of hard to tell. I want to say this was before. It definitely was before COVID. So that's why I'm kind of inclined to think that it was maybe late 2018. Hard to say exactly because I seem to recall different around that time. Now, so yeah, I joined the movie theater in 2014. Sean was, I think, the first guy who kind of trained me on everything at the movie theater, and we were in the freaking position of like cleaning the movie theaters, which was not the best job out there, but it's like it is a job. So hard to say exactly. And so yeah, he was working at the movie theater doing the same job I was at first. Um, but I think you could argue that he was sort of like a trainer there. But what's interesting is Sean did work as a manager at one point at that movie theater, but he has kind of a weird story where pretty much he was the supervisor there. Way, way long time ago, back when that movie theater was still considered or was called Regal or Crown. What was it called? Crown Point Cinemas. Regal Crown Point. But that Crown Point name doesn't exist anymore, as far as I know. Um, or sometimes they call it Regal at Crown Point or Regal Cinemas Crown Point. but for some reason they like to call that theater Crown Point. And I think the reason behind it is because like several like many blocks down the road, like on a side road, they had a business center called Crown Point Business Center. And I think that's why they named it after that business center, even though that business center is quite a long ways from the movie theater. Like, oh God, it probably by foot it would take you probably like a good hour to walk there, but by car probably about 5-10 minutes. Um, so yeah, kind of a weird thing, but yeah, Sean was a manager there, and then the Regal Cinemas sold it to a movie theater company called Carolina Cinemas. Carolina Cinemas doesn't exist anymore either, but um, so Sean worked there for like, oh God, three or four different companies there, right, within those 10-15 year span. But around the time it was Carolina Cinemas, they had like a new director of operations who wasn't a fan of Sean, and so that director of operations, who also later became a general manager at the movie theater, demoted Sean to a regular employee because simply of the fact that that director of operations had their own preference of who they wanted to have as higher managers, and you want to put your friends close and people you don't like farther away, kind of logic, right? Um, so yeah, eventually, unfortunately, that director of operations had that power to demote Sean to a regular employee, which I felt really bad about because I always felt that Sean deserved to be at least in a manager position, if not higher, in my mind. But uh, you know, unfortunately, that was done with Sean, and he and I we worked as the regular at that same position. Now, what's interesting is that when I started working there, they for some reason felt that I should only be at first that I should only be part of the crew that cleans movie theaters, like cleaning the like the inside of a movie theater after the show ends. So like the person who cleans up popcorn at the end of the theater, and I was making minimum wage back in 2014 from that job, and minimum wage was $7.25, which is which when I think about it nowadays, since it's like what 10 years or a decade after I've since I've worked at the movie theater. Now that was my first job too, so that's probably part of the reason why they put me in that position. But still, you think they would want to have somebody have room to grow, but that movie theater was really crazy. So yeah, Sean and I we were cleaning theaters for a while, and then Sean started getting more jobs or shifts working as a cashier. Um, and they started doing this very weird system at the movie theater where it's like they would have four or five different kinds of shifts or positions. But then they started like dividing up. Only people would work this position, only people would work that position, and then people started playing the favorites game, and then things started to go scandalous with other workers and all that, and it just went crazy from there. But Sean was a good worker, even as a regular employee, he was a great worker and a great friend to have. He was he also we started having a lot of conversations about different movies, and turns out Sean was actually besides working at the movie theater, he was also paid to work online and write reviews for movie theaters for some kind of I don't know what company, but he was basically paid to be a critic, a movie critic, right? And which was good for him because now I don't know if it was from the movie theater or if it was the company giving him. I think what happened was that he, as an employee, he got to watch movies for free, and after he would watch a movie, he would write a review about the movie, and this other second company would pay him for the reviews. Now, I don't know how much he was making. He never disclosed that information to me, so I'm not going to pressure him to do that. But from my understanding, he worked at that as a critic for at least several years. Um, But Sean had some issues as well outside of work. He didn't really have a car, and I think he didn't have a car for a long period of time. So, and he also would also like pretty much walk to work all the time. So he wouldn't, um, car share of anybody or anything like that. Um, And as far as I can tell, I don't think anybody would taxi him to the movie theater or, take him to work or take him from work back home. And then he was also kind of jumping around to different apartments here and there around the area. Um, but he worked at the movie theater for a long time, and then I think, as I recall him telling me, he always wanted to go into being like a manager for either like a concert or music venue, and he wanted to like be part of the people who would like go out and try to find like indie bands or new bands that are kind of starting from the ground up, and he would want to be a person who would be promoting them, and he wanted to kind of just organize all these different music groups to come to a concert venue, and he would be like a manager, managing all of this, administrating, or being an administrator, I guess is what you would call it, in terms of collecting all these sources of artists playing music, putting them in one concert venue, and he also wanted to be in charge of like marketing and then like ticket sales and all that too, which was I applaud him for wanting to do that, but the problem is that he didn't really have any resources or any means to go about doing that, and plus he was always really tight on money too, um, which is part of the reason why he was kind of jumping from one apartment to another. But eventually it came to a point where he moved out of working at just a movie theater and he decided to work at Arby's. Now, I don't exactly recall why he first went into Arby's. Imagine it was probably because of um, probably the need of getting more money, and I think there's other few reasons as well. I think one of his other neighbors or apartment buddies also was working at Arby's, and that's how he got his foot in the door at Arby's. But Sean was a part time, yeah, because I think it was full time at the movie theater and part time at Arby's. And he would only work as a cashier at Arby's, which I understand. And back when I worked there, we had some messed up issues at Arby's there. To name just a few things, like when I was there were issues where we had a lot of people who were on drugs, and there were rumors that certain people in higher up in management could have possibly dabbled or been under the influence of different substances. We don't know for sure about that. I know Sean wasn't part of that, so no issues about Sean. Um, but we had a few other concerns there too, like we had a like Sean didn't like the manager there. But what's interesting is apparently after I left Arby's, because when I went into Arby's, I was an assistant manager, um, and Sean was technically below me, and I was above him in terms of like manage. What do you call it? The worker hierarchy. Um, but I didn't like that hierarchy. For me, it seemed really weird. But it's like I got the idea or premise of it too, but it's like it didn't work or apply in some degree there, because it's like everybody had their own favorites or favoritism going on. Um, so Sean eventually left the movie theater when they sold it to a company called Cinemark. Sean did work for Cinemark for a small period of time, and then he left when they had like suddenly changed the general managers like 3 or 4 times within a very short period of time. And from my understanding, among the more recent managers, he had some issues or fallouts there, and then he uh, decided that it would be better for him to move on to a different company. Now, he did end up becoming a manager at Arby's, which I'm glad for that. He did work for a food place called Cookout for a short period of time, and then he stopped working at Cookout. Um, but I think his main job now is working as a manager at Arby's. He works there like, oh God, at least full time, if not more. And I've brought the idea back to him. Hey, do you want, if I go back to the movie theater, would you like to come back and be coworkers with me at the movie theater? And I think he's declined that because he's not a big fan of movie theater anymore. Um, but I've tried to help Sean out a few times before. I've talked about trying to help him save up to get a car. I've tried to help him get other different work, like working with my mechanic friend. I think we at one point, like among the early years, we were talking about the idea of maybe working at like Domino's Pizza or something like that, because one of his friends was like a delivery driver there, and we we had this crazy idea like, oh, we're gonna use their delivery card so we can have a car to go to where we need to go, and but that never worked out. I think like one of the friends like disappeared or bailed on the idea or something. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much covers Sean. There's another friend who's like a kind of a neighbor. Without going too much into detail, um, let's see. I'm trying to think how to talk about the guy without without revealing too much information. Right. The second guy's name is Victor. He is a school friend from back when I was in high school. I think we met in the ninth grade. We were friends out on throughout high school. But there was some weird things that came up across Victor throughout the years. For example, uh, he was also Russian, but whenever I would tell his last name to like my family, that my family would be like, no, that's not a Russian name. That sounds like a Azerbaijani name, or some kind of like outside of Russia but former Soviet Republic kind of country. So something like Central Asian, I think, was what they were trying to imply. But I didn't know because he kept saying that he was Russian. So I'm like, all right, because what's the point of arguing about that? Um, so yeah, so we were talking about that, and then we were discussing, I think, oh yeah, what we were going to do in high school too. So uh, I was talking with who was I talking with? I think I was talking with either him or one of his friends, and Victor kept talking about wanting to go to one special school, and um, he was like not he was doing this thing where he wanted to be like better than everybody. And what I mean by that is like he always wanted to take the toughest classes, so like all your AP classes. He was always also like really eager to be taking like 7 or 8 AP classes. Like that was considered to be like you would be in a high tier student if you were in that group. I ended up taking like 3, but I think I failed one for sure. I got a D in another one, and I think I got a C in like AP US history or something like that, but way back when. And Victor was taking all the crazy, or I was going to say expensive, but all the tough classes like your political science, chemistry, physics, economics, statistics, all those like, top, whatever you think is tough, like the highest of that. That's what Victor was taking. But he was taking it to like show off at that point, basically. And, he did, I think he got like some credits or something from out of it. I never got any credits from my AP stuff, but Victor ended up going to Chapel Hill, I think. Yeah, in North Carolina. Among one of the best schools in North Carolina is where he went. And for me, I was like, this is crazy that he got there, and they wouldn't let me even put my foot in the door there because I didn't meet them. And I think I don't even remember what Victor ended up when he went in there. Things like went rough for him. Like he ended up changing his major like 5 or 6 times, and I think he ended up eventually graduating with like environmental science, which is what my sister graduated with at her college. Um, but literally after he got out of college or university, or you want to call it, uh, he and his friend were in some kind of like conservation group. I don't know if he was working for the state or if he was for like a private company, but literally they were out in the middle of like forests, like counting freaking butterflies, um, like taking photos of like plants and like fish in the river. And for me, when I like, well, congrats on y'all. You have to go out in forests and take photos of stuff to get money, which is, some people say it's easy, but I don't know what they have to do. I don't know if they got to be, writing up reports and all that, which I don't know. But what's where it gets really weird is that Victor eventually decided to legally change his last name to, well, I'm trying to think what he ended up doing. I think what he did was at one point he wanted to call himself, whatever, insert typical Russian name. He wanted to call himself Victor Brown. And everybody trolling on him for wanting to call himself Victor Brown, but he ended up not picking Brown. He picked a different name, which I won't reveal for privacy. But what's weird is that he ended up, like, I don't know if he ended up stopped talking to his parents, and I don't even know what his parents think about it. I'm kind of really curious about that. But he married some American girl. The American girl had one name, Victor had his Russian name, and they both changed their name into a third, completely different last name or family name. And I always found that to be really weird too. But, I've been trying to get a hold of Victor, talk to Victor for years now. He's refusing to respond. And I don't know why. Maybe he's like, my one theory, one of my other friends said was like, well, maybe Victor is jealous that you got a business degree. I'm like, well, I don't know, man. It's hard to say because he doesn't even want to answer, right? So, there's that argument. So that's Victor. We talked about Sean. There's another Victor who's also in my neighborhood, who lives in my neighborhood, or where my grandparents live. I won't tell too much information other than when did they move to the U.S.? They were from like Donbass, Ukraine, and they moved to the U.S. probably around 2014 or so. So for those of you who don't know what this means by Donbass, by the city or town of Donbass in Ukraine. Is it Donetsk? I don't even know. It's like a huge area in Ukraine that's like in what's called the gray zone. So basically, they were from one of the areas that ended up being like a war zone later on with the whole Russia-Ukraine conflict. But so they moved to the U.S. right when Ukraine was having their what would they call it, Euromaidan, or some kind of weird like name basically. So when the whole Ukraine-Russia thing started, like before the actual like conflict in 2022, and I don't know what happened to Victor's dad. That's like a mystery still to this day. But from my understanding, I believed his father and mother had divorced, and the mother kind of was trying to start up from scratch, like a new life here in the U.S. Basically, I don't know what she worked as exactly, other than I think she may have worked as like a CNA or certified nursing assistant at one point. But that's kind of a story for another different live stream. But so this second Victor, Ukrainian Victor, he went to school here in the U.S. I don't know if it was in Charlotte or if it was outside of Charlotte or where exactly. I've heard rumors in South Carolina. I've heard all kinds of craziness. But from my understanding, he wasn't great at U.S. high school, which is completely understandable because if you're moving out of one complete area and then you got to get submerged into the U.S. high school system. But not only you're submerged into the U.S. high school system, you're also brought up. You have to be like automatically brought up or expected to be at their standard, which is not really realistic. Especially, it's hard to tell what was over there in Ukraine versus here in the U.S. So he didn't, from my understanding, he didn't do so well with that. And because and with the messed up system here, at least in Charlotte, if you're not awesome at like top of your class here in the high school, you ain't really going to get into a good college or a good university, which is, troublesome here. Unless you manage to go down my path, and my path was sort of like into a community college, which can help you get into the good university. Which that's how. See, I went to South Piedmont Community College in Monroe, which is like half an hour south of Charlotte. If you finish community college and you get a diploma or degree there, and then apply to like University of North Carolina. And that gets you in the door there. That's how I got ended up getting my university degree or my business degree. So, that's what I was kind of trying to help that Ukrainian Victor out in that area. Um, but what's weird is that he ended up going to, like, after high school, he worked, I believe, at a warehouse for like a year. And he worked, so this, I suspect that he probably graduated high school around 2018 because the rumor is that he worked at this warehouse for like a year and then COVID-19 started. As soon as COVID-19 started, he got out of work house, and I don't know if he ever worked since then. He's been pretty much at home all the time, as far as I know. Um, he has a switched, like, what do you call it, day and night schedule. So basically, he sleeps during the day and is awake during the night. And he's been busy on the computer, but I don't know what he's up to. Last few times I've talked to him, try to be friends with him. One time brought him on board back when I had the car detailing and car cleaning business, and it was we had one tough day, or maybe 2 days, and then after that I decided not to bring him on. But after that, which was that car cleaning was like a year or two ago, so that's it's been a while. So after that, whenever I go to Victor's place, or Ukrainian Victor's place, he keeps talking about like comic conventions, cosplay stuff, anime, comic book stuff, and it's like, what do they call it? There's a term for it. I bet somebody in the comments going to know what I'm talking about. People who are into like anime, comic books, cosplay, some certain video games, usually within anime genre. There's a name for it. I'm trying to remember what it means. It's a Japanese term. I can't remember what it is. There's a few names that come to mind. I'm trying to remember. I'm like looking online, trying to think what the word is. So, but yeah, so basically a fan is what I will call it, right? But he's also kind of like isolated in his apartment with his mom now, and I've been trying to figure out how to get that fixed or changed, but I don't know how to do that exactly. Other than trying to get him to get into maybe like a new job. I've even tried to like help him out at one point and get him into like a healthcare job, like with around what his mom was doing, and he didn't want to do that either. He was refusing to do that. So I don't know what to do with him exactly, other than leave him be at this point. So a couple of other plans or ideas I've had was looking at some other people, like another friend. Yeah, another friend I've had this friend named Jonathan, Mexican guy, cool guy. He and I worked at the high-end grocery store together, and we also worked at a solar panel company, front-end managers. So we were in charge of all the cashiers, in charge of like the financial accounting and auditing, customer service, guest service relationships. But then they started throwing a bunch of like additional tasks on us, and we both got out because they weren't paying us that much. Like, what do we? I think we were making like, oh god, cashiers were paid minimal. I think they were paid like $9 to $11, and I think we were making like 16 an hour. I think. I've heard that it's gone up. I've heard cashiers can make as much, but managers make like closer to 20 now. I don't know. It's hard to say because they've been changing the whole inflation and everything here all the time. But yeah, how long did we work at the I think I ended up working like a little bit, like a year and a half or so, when Jonathan worked like 2 years. The solar panel company was weird because I was getting paid very low, but it was like I only had to work part time. Um, but I was bringing in, what was I? I think I was bringing in anywhere around 300 to 600 a week. And then I worked there for like maybe 2, 3 months, and then I left. Jonathan also quit working there because they wanted to like stop paying him because that company was not getting what they wanted basically. Like the number of sales they wanted. Um, and then Jonathan started working at as a cashier at a Chinese fast food, or no, what? My bad, Chinese takeout restaurant, and he's been there ever since because he decided to go buy some kind of brand new car or got to get a car loan, and he can't really get out because of that car loan. Um, but yeah, so that's another person. Otherwise, who else comes to mind? I guess you could have one friend named Jordan from high school. He was sort of a weird guy, but like in a good way, I guess. For example, Jordan and we were friends. I think ninth and 10th grade we were friends, but after 10th grade he like stopped talking to me for some reason. I went over to his house once to, uh, and he lived. Where did he live? He like lived right on the state line between North and South Carolina. He did work at like amusement park as like a photographer at amusement park at one like during one summer. And then after 11th grade, he like pretended like he doesn't know me and he's completely forgot about me, which is doesn't make any sense. Um, so what else? What else? Yeah, Jordan was a weird guy. Like I think he had like some kind of what do you call it, ADHD or OCD or something the other. Um, and I know he was failing a lot of his classes, and it needed to help him out during high school. So that that was way back when, but we don't talk nowadays, and he doesn't answer my messages, or if he'll answer, he'll be like, "Oh, I don't know who you are." So that's crazy. Um, oh man, and then everything else from high school was pretty much rough, especially when I start thinking about the girls, and that's I did make a video on that talking about the girl relationships back in high school. That was a pretty rough time. Um, and it's something I don't like to talk about because of how rough it was. Uh, what else? What else? What else? Let's see. I'm surprised we haven't had one person join the live stream yet from our 3,000 people. That's so weird. What else? I'm trying to like recall. I'm trying to like remember what other friends I've had. So let's see. Besides Sean in the movie theater, I had a friend named Matt. Um, he he was with yeah he worked with me there for about a year, and then he did Domino's Pizza as like a delivery driver, and then he went back to only working at the movie theater. But from what I last heard from him, apparently he hasn't really been doing much. Um, and I don't know much about Matt at all. And whenever I call him again, he's one of those people who never answer the phone whenever you try to call him or leave a message, and he'll never call you back. So that I don't understand that logic. But all right, I guess there are plenty of people like that. Um, what else? Yeah, so it's been kind of I guess crazy, right? Um, but yeah, I just want to talk about some general friends and people who I guess come across my mind when I have to talk about, hey, ThyCompany, you got any real life friends? So now, of course, I do have my Turkish neighbors as well, who I would say good friends with. Um, my Turkish friend's a car mechanic, but I don't know, he's got some weird projects and things that have been going on in his life as well. Like he owned a shop in India in a few towns or cities over, like the next county over, I should say. A place called Indian Trail, and then he left out of Indian Trail, and he was Then he moved to Monroe. When he was in Monroe, like to do well, I mean, like his shop is in Monroe. He still stays here, like he lives here, but his work is in Monroe now. So that's quite a drive away. It's like 30-40 minutes. And I don't know. I've been trying to figure out how to get it, something going on with him in terms of work or a job, but I don't know. It's been really tough. But yeah, guys. I mean, this has been Thigh Company here. I just want to cover a few different friend stories that I can come up with. Um, Otherwise, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, like this video, comment down below what you would like to see for future videos. I'm probably going to do another community post because, in general, I'm kind of tired about talking about friends. So I kind of want to talk either about maybe family stories or maybe work stories or, well, at least until we get the gaming computer, which I don't know when that's going to come in. I thought it was going to come in April 16th, but I haven't even received a notification that's been shipped out yet. So I don't know, that's weird. Maybe it's going to come the 16th still, but I don't know. I have no clue how the logistics in that work. So yeah, that'll be kind of fun to see how that goes. And if for some reason that fails, like they don't send out the computer, I won't be happy, but then I'll have to do another computer search, or I might have to go to maybe Costco. That's a possible solution, but we'll see. But yeah, guys. Otherwise, it's been Thigh Company. Glad to have you all here. Hope your day goes well, and we'll see you all in the next live stream. Peace out, guys. Take care.